I started these conversations to discuss leadership, mentorship, growth, and so much more from voices you may not have heard from before. I hope the conversations inspire you, motivate you, and give you something to think about. This is Leadership in Colour from myself, Shez Iqbal, supported and powered by me. Hello, and welcome to the next edition of Leadership in Colour. Pleased to have Ladi on the call with me today. Ladi, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being here. So, just in case people don't know who you are, can you give a little bit of a better introduction than what I just did?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, my name is Ladi. Full name Ladi Fagbola, but everybody calls me Ladi, including my parents. And I'm the e-commerce account director at Monks, and that's primarily looking after the Monks and Amazon Ads EMEA relationship. So there's a great relationship happening in the US, and we're trying to replicate that in the EMEA region. And I'm Nigerian, born and raised there, came to UK for uni and decided to stay. So have this back and forth of when I go to Nigeria, I don't fit as well. And whilst I'm here, I'm still Nigerian. So that's an interesting dynamic for most immigrants and kids of immigrants as well.
That is an interesting dynamic. Actually, I wouldn't mind having a chat about that in a second. But before we get there, tell me about your name. What does your name mean?
Okay. So that's so my ethnic group were called Yoruba. That's one of our favorite things because all our names have to mean something. They're not just labels, they're names that carry meaning and more often than not historical meaning. So my name for starters is the exact same name with my dad. So growing up, I used to be called Junior a lot because we share the same name. So my full name is Oladipupo. So my birth certificate is Ladipo. And then everybody calls me Laddie. So there's more or less three variations of it. And it roughly translates to my wealth has increased or my wealth has multiplied. My the quality of my life has significantly improved. So yeah, that's what my name means.
Very cool name. It's a very cool meaning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
How does it feel to have the same name as your dad?
Oh, it used to be a lot of pressure. It used to be a lot of pressure because growing up, he was a pillar. It was a very big name, very big shoes I felt I had to fill. And I mean that physically. I tried to wear his shoes when I was probably 13 and they were like five sizes too big for me. But over time, as I started to work on myself, as I started to introspect and not just look up at this big mountain that I had to climb and more focusing on myself and the inside, who do I want to be? How do I want to perceive myself? And all this kind of internal work. Gradually, I started to focus on, yes, we share the same name, but I am my own person. I'm who I want to be. And more importantly, I'm always becoming. And I think that's the most recent part of that journey to accept that, it's not static. It's you're always becoming this person.
It sounds like you've really embraced the idea of being on a constant journey.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there about self-development as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I go back to the point that you made on, being from Nigeria,
Yeah.
coming to London, staying here, studying here, then staying here, and then going back.
Yeah.
Whenever you go back, you say that you don't quite fit in.
Yeah.
So on my end, I'm really surprised to hear that. And the reason why I'm really surprised to hear that is because I'm first generation over here,
Yeah.
right? Or I guess second generation. No, technically, my parents came over. And the reality is that being born and raised in London as an Asian background, I don't feel like I quite fit in here. But when I go back to Pakistan, where my family's from,
Mhm.
I definitely don't fit in there either.
Yeah.
Right. So the culture that I had at home over here
Yes.
was different to the culture of a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
Um, and and even a lot of my Pakistani friends, to be honest with you, my parents are an odd group
Mhm.
compared to some others. but in a fantastic way. And then in Pakistan, it's very different as well, right? So I always thought that if I had come over as someone who grew up in Pakistan to
Yeah,
London, that
yeah,
when I go back home,
yeah.
and when I say go back home, I really mean home, right?
Yes,
That I
yes.
would just slip in and just feel like one of the locals and everything would be rosy.
On the face of it, that makes perfect sense. I'm not disputing what you're saying, but if you look at cultures as static, that
Mm.
makes sense. So the Nigeria I left when I was 18 is not the current Nigeria that's there right now. And I've missed transition. So I come back. Obviously, I still see the same infrastructure, the same cultural backbone hasn't changed massively. But the slangs, the music, what's hot, what's the most popular thing, what's the most urgent thing, what people are aiming for. Yes, everybody's still aiming for a good life, but what a good life means, all those definitions are constantly evolving. And when you step out, of course, I still follow Nigerian news, I still listen to Nigerian music, but that's not the lived experience. So I guess if I stayed for maybe if you and I both relocated home, maybe to take me less time to catch up and then to get embedded, and it might take you longer. But regardless, as long as you're not physically in that space, it's moving and evolving, and it comes back to the whole nothing is stagnant.
That's interesting. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
Because essentially, once you've left a country, you become a person of nowhere or a person of everywhere.
yeah.
So, do you find yourself gravitating towards other Nigerians that came over at the same time as yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a very, very important part because they are the ones who have the most sort of similarities to me, especially the ones who came at the same period that I came to the UK as well. The problem is most of them are no longer in England because of a lot of the political environment. So that can be a bit of a struggle as well because most of them have then moved on to Canada, US. I have a friend in Netherlands.
So, I feel like I can relate a lot to people, for example, that come in from the West Country and move to London because it's a different pace of life and they've got stronger values to maybe Pakistan's like anyone from Africa. Majority of Africa, doesn't even matter if it's North Africa or West Africa or East Africa. I feel like there's a lot of sort of cultural similarities. We just had that sort of so it's whereas I feel like I'm one of the very very rare few who've done that, and you are really case in point of the fact that you go to those that have had exactly the same lived experience.
Yeah.
And is it Nigerians in particular that you seek out, or do you
Yeah,
seek?
yeah. Nigerians specifically, because speaking to a Nigerian who came to UK after me is slightly different because again, Nigerian has moved on. Again, their static image of Nigeria is slightly different. Those who came before me, again, slightly different. And I think
How
I
far before or after we talking? We talking about sort of like a few
uh,
years, like a span of three,
probably
4 years?
five on either side.
Really interesting. And does that make a difference to your working environment? So do you have Nigerian friends at work?
My current work, not where I am right now.
Have you ever?
Yes. So when I used to teach, there's a lot more Nigerians. So just generally, there's more Nigerians in academia than in marketing and advertising. There are Nigerians in advertising and marketing, but nowhere near as much as when I used to teach. So yeah, during that period, yeah, I would say probably 50% of my close friends were Nigerian. And again, they had that similar age, similar life stage and things like that.
And do you think that you would enjoy work where you are right now a little bit more if there were more Nigerian people in the mix?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's even just having Black and Asian friends and colleagues already, the impact is already massive. And so where I worked previously was in a relatively white area. north of Nottingham, and it was a fantastic place to work. It was lovely. I got on with everybody. But when I walked into Monks, I remember seeing the first thing I saw was there were two men at the reception. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then one of the men is from Eastern Europe, and the other guy is Black British with a Caribbean heritage. So even from day one, at the reception, it's Wagwan. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This is cool. And of course, Monk's massive agency, very diverse. So even just that alone makes things interesting. But I can only imagine what having that layer of Nigerianness attached to it would be like.
We've skirted around and sort of referenced in a number of ways your early years. So did you start off in teaching? Is that right?
Yeah, so I studied engineering. That's why I came to UK to study, and that didn't go well. It was quite weird because I was good in maths. Again, the ethnic slash immigrant stereotype. I was good in maths, so therefore I should do engineering. Two very, very different things. I was terrible at engineering. I didn't come out with a good grade. So I worked as a photographer for about 1.5 years. So I went as, how far can I get from engineering? And it was pure creative and all that good stuff. But within that, I was self-employed for a little bit, and then marketing my skills, marketing my product. I actually realized I started to enjoy that more than the pictures itself. And then one thing led to another. Did my PhD in marketing, teaching in marketing, and that was set. I was very happy, very comfortable to be a lecturer in marketing, and especially because my supervisor, who is so she's Scottish. So although we were in an English institution, the fact that she was born and raised in Scotland and I was from Nigeria, she's not an immigrant at all, but she did have that not fitting in feeling, and we could relate a lot on that. So she really she set me on that journey on how great academia can be. And then COVID happened in 2020. And at that period, I was on a 0 hour contract. So you only get paid when you're teaching. Now, Nottingham Trent University were lovely. They were like, oh, your contract runs till, I think, April or May, will pay you till the end of your contract. And I was like, cool. But at the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, but what happens after May? Because yes, Boris said lockdown's only going to be for 2 weeks, but we're week 6 now, week 3. Okay, I need to do something else for when my contract ends and we're still in lockdown. So I got a job, which is where I was before Monk's Minster FB as an advertising exec. It was a role that needed minor experience, but was mostly, did you have an aptitude for numbers? Because it was search advertising, it was quite spreadsheet led. I was like, one thing I'm good at, it's maths, not engineering, but maths. So I went in there, had a great time. I was the only ad exec, and then I grew my team into a team of 7. And I was first doing teaching and the advertising at the same time, but over a while, of course, you can understand Amazon specifically. I was an Amazon advertising exec during 2020 and 2022. The rate of growth, the rate of features, the rate of opportunities was just times 10 compared to what I was seeing in academia, which was relatively static, quite stable, but nothing from my experience or my perspective, nothing new was happening. So I went full time into advertising, and here I am, still doing it just by happen chance.
You enjoying it?
Absolutely. All those things I said haven't changed. The rate of features, the rate of growth, the rate of learning. We were discussing before the podcast, and then monks specifically, which is a whole different environment from where I was coming from. I've been here since November last year, and I'm on my fourth notebook. So, it's just constant, and I'm loving it. Yeah.
So if you were to say the three things that you love the most about your current role, and I'm putting you on the spot here
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the audience, I'll let them know that I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
If it was if I was to give you, ask you three things that are the key things, that the best things about your role, for anybody listening and thinking that they'd like to do something similar, what would you say?
Yeah, I think the pace. The pace is frenetic, and I know that's not for a lot of people. But for me, who can't sit still, who gets itchy after 15 minutes, it's in a weird way, it's quite freeing. I like it that every quarter, every month, every day, there's something new, fresh, and exciting happening. Number two is the people. Like I said, that diverse workplace. Since I've been in the UK, it's probably the most diverse workplace I've been in. Although academia had more black people or more people from Nigeria, Monks has that, but on a more broader scale. So I'm working with somebody from Venezuela. I'd never met a person from Venezuela before prior to this encounter. Well, I've never met a person who told me they were from Venezuela. So just the spectrum sounds doesn't sound as good. The diversity of people is incredibly broad. So I really like working with people, meeting with the people. And then there's a guy, I think again, the first person I've met where both their parents are of mixed race heritage. So I've usually met a mixed race person, or maybe a person with one mixed race parent. So, just yeah, it's very, very diverse, very interesting, different background and everything there. And then the third for me is also the independence. So it's not, you're not, there's a strong level of trust, and that also obviously comes with flexibility, but it's not the flexibility in itself, it's the independence to go, this is what I want to do. Okay, can you justify it? They're happy with my justification. Cool. Let's see how it goes. And sometimes it doesn't go well, and they go, okay, cool. That's a lesson we should learn. What's next? So that independence, that trust I get from my senior colleagues and from my colleagues is very yeah, I enjoy that a lot.
Sounds like a great place to be.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It is.
You mentioned diversity a number of times. How important is authenticity for you?
Especially going back to that not really fitting in bit. It's that feeling of not fitting in amplifies that need for authenticity. So yes, I might be a square peg in a round hole, but I will be the squarest of pegs. I'm gonna be so square, you know this guy is square from 10 miles off. And yet, trying at the same time, we've talking about always it's still becoming. So it's not a static sense of being authentic, but at the same time, it's very, very important that I don't, for lack of a better word, I don't lose myself. I don't, I'm not trying to fit into a mold. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not to make my work easier or to make forming relationships easier. This is who I am. This is who I am about. And, trying as much as I can to stay true to that. And it's actually, there's a different dimension to it since I've been working at Monks. So originally, my role was relatively operational, although I was leading a team, it's like management, but what I'm managing is the operational delivery of advertising campaigns. And originally, that was where I thought I was going to spend most of my time when I joined Monks. But over time, it's shifted slightly more to sales. I'm supporting the sales team more than I anticipated, and that's because they've not done as much selling of our Amazon ad services compared to Google, for example. So if they need to sell Google, they don't need support. The sales team can sell, 110%. Amazon, I'm more involved in the sales process. And it's challenged my authenticity or what I think of my morals and what I think of right and wrong. It's challenged it because it's a lot easier to just, blag it. The client goes, "Can you do this thing?" And I go, "Right. If I say yes, it will increase my chances of winning this pitch." But I have to say, no, that's not who I am. I don't say yes to tick a box. I don't say yes to win a pitch. Of course, I don't have sales targets. I'm not in the sales team, so it's slightly easier for me to pull myself back from that cliff. But I know for a fact once you jump down, you just start saying all sorts of untruths without thinking about it. So that's been an even more interesting challenge. It's easier to be honest with a client where you already have a contract. You have 2, 3 years relationship. You've already done multiple mistakes, and you have a working relationship that has been established over time. It's very different trying to be authentic self in a 15-minute pitch, in a 30-minute discovery call where you're trying to make yourself likable, easy to talk to. You want to make yourself at the same time, yeah, trying to be your best self is one thing, absolutely. But it's very easy to go from your best self to this fake self where I'm laughing at the jokes that I didn't find funny. Now that's polite, absolutely. But if they say something inappropriate, am I still laughing because I find it funny or because I'm trying to close that deal? So those dynamics has really pushed at my sense of self. More on the moral side, what are the things I think are appropriate and inappropriate, and making sure I double down and go, no, this is what I stand for, this is what I believe. I know you want us to be able to do that thing. I'm sorry, we just can't. But these are the other things we can do for you. And I'm still keeping the conversation going, but without, losing a bit of myself in the process.
Sounds like being honest and being sort of ethical
Yeah.
are strong values of yours.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
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 I mean, there should be strong values to everybody.
Yeah, that's one thing I was like,
But,
okay.
but that honesty, as you said, if you're in a commercial role, I would say personally, be honest about the fact that you're going to say yes to something, but you need to work it out,
Yeah.
right? But you do start off with a yes. So it's yes, but can I get 24 hours to confirm? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it sounds like with you, it's like, well, I know that it could be yes, but it might not be yes. So let me say no right now and then explain why. And
Well,
there's a difference in the way that you're presenting it.
oh, absolutely. There's context and what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes can you come to my office in Brighton? I'll say yes. I'm known for the fact, even if company doesn't want to pay for it, I'm happy to pay for it myself. That's a minor thing. But it's yes, can I do this big thing that we're not, structured to that? I know it's an absolute no, regardless of how we reposition, then it's more likely to be a no. So it's still definitely contextually driven, but at the same time, underneath is making sure I'm not moving into a space where I find myself I don't recognize the person I become in the long term. Yeah.
And when most people talk about authenticity, they talk about their culture and their upbringing. So
Yeah.
what part of your culture and your upbringing is that connected to?
It is. And I think it's generic, but amongst Yoruba people, for example, being a good host, being welcoming is such an important part of who we are. And when I meet people, I have to, sometimes it's forced. I had a very funny conversation with a guy from Australia, and he just like, right, let's get into. I'm like, no, no, no. How was your day? And he's like, it's 6 p.m. I was like, I know, I'm really sorry, but how are you doing? How is Australia? I've never been to Australia. Tell me about your job. Tell me about what you do. And making sure, and I could tell he was irritated, but halfway through him talking about himself, which we'll enjoy, it was a completely different person. So that's definitely still there.
Hang
um
on, was that 6 p.m. your time or his time?
his time, so 6 p.m.
Okay. So there is that need and willingness to create connections and
Yeah.
to be that great host. Okay. And that's not a bad example of that, because the reality is that most people would have sensed that frustration and just got straight into business and got out. You sensed that frustration and said, I know you're frustrated. Let me just make you a little bit more frustrated before I make you really, really like me. So, and that's there's some brave there's it's quite a brave thing to do. Strengthening those connections and the relationship is really important. Checking in with people and seeing how they are is really important.
And yeah, just been a pleasant person to be around. It's very easy to go into the office when I'm having a bad day and just, frown and send a signal, leave me alone. But actually, again, that's more cultural, really. Yoruba people know people you need to check in on people, to say hi, you need to, you don't have to be the life of the party, but okay, I'm sat as it's an open office, hot desking. Okay, at least the two people, the person on my left, the person on my right. How are you? Having a good day? How are you? Having a good day? Very simple. Actually, one of the things I've had to stop doing is offering to get people tea or coffee. So in my previous role, you would be looked at negatively if you just stood up and get yourself a coffee or tea. You have to ask, would you like a coffee? Would you like a tea? Whereas at Monks, it's slightly different because one, not everybody drinks coffee and tea. My Venezuelan colleague, she drinks this thing with a straw. So I still had to adapt and go, you know what, I'm just gonna get up and get myself a drink because that's in this environment, that's the norm. So, I do adapt, it's not just about doggedly doing whatever you like. But yeah,
I
no,
struggle to do that, by the way.
okay,
I
yeah.
really struggle to do that. So we had a co-working space where I was genuinely asking strangers if they wanted a coffee because I was going to the coffee machine. When I go to the dump and I see my neighbors, I'm like, hey, do you want me to take some stuff as well? I can't,
I
and
feel
that is definitely an upbringing thing because my dad would do the same thing, my mum would do the same thing. We just So I totally, and I'm not making a conscious decision to do that. I struggle to not do that. I feel
yeah,
like it's rude. I feel like
yeah, yeah,
you get up and you make a cup of coffee and you don't offer out. If I see someone doing that, I don't think anything of it. But if I do it,
yeah.
I feel like I'm being really rude.
The one of the ways my partner helped me understand it in a different context is think about it as you asking them makes them uncomfortable. Is that what you're trying to do? If the answer is no, then you sit with your discomfort. Depending on the context again,
How am I making someone uncomfortable by asking them if they want a coffee?
because now you're forcing them to make a decision that they're not interested or willing or ready to make.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes people saying, no, I don't want a coffee makes them feel uncomfortable. So sometimes they will say yes, not because they want to, but because they don't want to disappoint you. 'Cause again, this is happening in people's heads. This isn't, mathematics. But sometimes people will say yes because they're like, oh, it's so nice of him to ask. I feel bad saying no. Or worse, they do say no, and any part of your body language that hints at being disappointed for the next 30 minutes they go, oh, I wish I said yes. That's even the worst one where you just go, oh, okay, but maybe you nodded too fast and they go, oh my God, I made him upset. Now he would never ask me for tea or coffee again, and then for the next 20 minutes that's at the back of their mind. So again, it's so small. I wouldn't put too much effort on it, but yeah, that sometimes can happen.
I want a whole episode about this. I mean, this is just I never really thought offering someone a cup of coffee would make such an impact on 20 minutes of their life. Okay, so that's great. It clearly you take direction from outside your own thought space. It sounds like your wife is fantastic in terms of being a sounding board for you. Have you had other people that have supported you in that way? And I'm thinking more broadly, maybe allies or mentors that have supported you in your career.
Oh yeah, mentors massively. I think we met through MIFA. So I joined MIFA Media for All. I joined MIFA for the mentorship program. And so Adrian Williams was my first mentor, and he was great. Really helped me around LinkedIn and how to present yourself, how to interact, and how to just being constantly, how to show up constantly on LinkedIn, and that was fantastic. And then now my mentor again through MIFA is Ryan Asher. And ironic, so this is actually very funny in that regards, where when he first became my mentor, I was still in this operational headspace, but he's actually his current role is quite a commercial sales background. So I'm just like, oh my God, this is meant to be. So the first meeting I had, I was like, I know this was in the plan, but how can I be better at sales? And he was like, what do you mean? Sales is massive. You need to be specific, laddie. I'm like, I don't know. I just need better sales skills. So yeah, so he's taking me on that journey as well in terms of what actually does it mean to form a relationship with a business prospect? What does it mean to create commercials on the spot, on the fly? Or more importantly, he even asked me, do you even understand fully what monks can offer? Have you actually even gone the other way? And I was like, not really. I said, cool, go back into monks, fully understand what the full offering is, not just your single Amazon space. So that's happening right now, and that's brilliant. So officially, those two have been my mentor, but I also talked about my PhD supervisor. She was amazing as well, Professor Morgan. So yeah, here and there, and just life in general, parents, all the siblings, things like that.
Your mentors are two really good friends of mine, and they are amazing people. So I'm so happy to hear the positive things about them. Okay, I'm I've got to wrap up the conversation, but before we wrap up the conversation, I wanted to ask you for your advice then. So
Yeah.
tell me, someone's just about to kick it off in the industry. What advice would you give them?
So I would say don't spend too much time being a generalist. And this was something I had to fight growing up, where it's more of you're hedging your bets. So you try to learn as much of loads of different things as much as you can. One of the things that's benefited me is actually being a specialist, and it does take taking a punt. It does take, taking a bit of a gamble because you don't yet have enough experience to know exactly what you should specialize in. But take a punt, double down on whatever it is. How you decide on that thing is a completely separate conversation. But whatever it is you've decided on focusing on, double down on it, become an expert in the thing. Even if you don't even have the work experience, okay, what are the other different routes you can you can start that journey of becoming an expert before you get the job. So are you following people who are experts in that field on your socials? Obviously, LinkedIn from a professional perspective is probably the most useful. Do you have are you subscribed to some of those newsletters from that specific industry or that specific vertical? One thing I've not even done is I have specific clients I'm interested in. So I'm interested in clients in electronics, for example. Actually, I should be subscribed to electronics newsletters, even though I'm not going to understand half of it. That is the kind of direction we should, consider going to. And even when you can, especially if they're free conferences, webinar, just attend, just show up. If you're shy, that's fine. Just show up. If you can go say hi to people, go say hi as well. But just being physically there or even virtually is a great start.
I agree with you. All fantastic, great advice. Ladi, the closing tradition on this podcast is you name the episode. And I've been scribbling down a couple of notes here just in case you struggle, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on naming the episode.
No, you go. Tell me what you've written down.
So I got a couple of ideas. So one is something about static, not static was the thing I was thinking about. And the other one was don't offer me a cup of coffee. These were there were a few others, but those are the two the sort of winning ones on my list.
Yeah, go on then. Don't offer me a cup of coffee. It feels very catchy. I think that would give us more downloads.
Well, let's find out. Thank you so much for being a great guest here on Leadership in Color. Really appreciate you and your time, and the advice was fantastic. Thanks also to everybody who's tuned in and listening or watching.
Thank you. Cheers. Great to be here.